the Astros putting together some good plate appearances in the ninth inning, I think that will carry over to tomorrow. I think the Astros, even though they lost today, even though their backs are against the wall tomorrow, you can't get tight. You're going to have to play loose. But I feel like they're going to look at that ninth inning and be like, okay, they gave us Tariq Skubal with a right hook to the face. He knocked us down. But we liked what we did against the bullpen, scratching a run, bringing the tying run, actually bringing the winning run to first base. We feel good about what we did in the ninth. They're throwing the bullpen tomorrow. They're throwing the bullpen the next day. I feel like the Astros, even though they lose today and they're one game away from elimination because of that ninth inning, I feel like they do have a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I think that when you look at it, like I said from the jump here, that you're facing a guy that's as good as Skubal, but you know what? At the end of the day, you had a fighting chance. You had a chance to tie that ball game. You saw their bullpen, and you know that, like as you pointed out, they put together a really good effort down the stretch. There was no quit in them. They had some good at-bats. So they got to feel like, if you're looking at the positive side of things, we should have an advantage with the pitchers tomorrow, and we should have guys that should feel good about the fact that now Skubal's in your rearview mirror and you won't see him the rest of the series. You should have an advantage. It would be great if you can, jump on whoever they pitch tomorrow early, put a run or two on the board, and build some more confidence. But there's plenty of reasons to say that they should feel confident going into tomorrow now that Skubal's behind him, and they still almost had a chance to tie the game in the last inning.
What'd you make of Fromber today?
He just didn't have his stuff. He didn't have his A game. I'm not going to get into anything more than that. I'm not going to think it's a bigger deal than it was. Some days you have it, and some days you don't. He obviously didn't have it. Normally there's a lot of bite on his breaking pitches, and he's got really good control to move the breaking pitches to finish either on the inside back foot or move it to the outside where, the late movement gets you to the corner. He missed up with everything. He couldn't pinpoint his pitches, and it just wasn't his day. And with all that being said, he still only gave up 3 runs.
Yeah, I thought that he battled. He just couldn't find that. Really, it was the second inning. Like, I didn't think he was sharp at all, but at least the innings that he pitched, he didn't give up a run except for that second inning. And even in that second inning, he was, 5 feet away from getting out of the inning with the double play. Parker Meadows grounded into what looked like a double play off the bat, beats it out, prolongs the inning, and then you get a Jake Rogers single on a 3-0 count. Fromber's command was poor today. 3-0 count to Jake Rogers, the 8-hole hitter, A.J. Hinch, RBI situation. Let's give him a green light. He's going to get a fastball right down the middle. He did. Base hit into center field. 9-hole hitter Trey Sweeney comes up, base hit, scores another run. Matt Vierling, the leadoff man, base hit into center field. All 3 of the Tiger runs today came with 2 outs in the second inning.
Yep.
So Fromber couldn't deliver that final blow to get out of the inning. Almost did with the ground ball. And then you look how that inning started. Perez got a 1-out single, and then you walk Spencer Torkelson. Like, that's the real killer there, is that you allowed a walk. You allowed a base runner throw a strike there. Maybe you get the out on Torkelson. Now there's 2 outs instead of 1 out for Parker Meadows, and you don't have to worry about him beating out a double play ball. So really it was the second inning. Fromber was not sharp. Fromber's command was poor, but just couldn't get out of that second inning. Lack of command, but that's the one that did Fromber in. But I would still put the blame on the offense more than anything else.
Yeah, and when you look at it, too, the hits that he gave up, they were no doubters. They were lasers. They were barreled up, hit about 100 miles an hour or more, all 3 of them, that were just drilled to where when Fromber's on his game, he's getting softer contact. He's getting those ground balls. He's spinning into double play balls. And today he was getting barreled up. And when you're getting barreled up, that means you're normally missing in the middle of the zone and over the heart of the plate. And when you go back and look at some of those pitches, he absolutely was. And I don't know, when you're ahead in a count 0-2, there's a really good probability that you need to kind of throw something that's out of the zone. Yeah, you want it to be somewhat competitive. You just don't need it anywhere near that box. And you can get killed if you do. And the 3-0 pitch, I just had a bad feeling from the jump that 3-0 he was just gonna throw one right down Main Street. He got it turned right back around at him.
Yeah, I like that decision from Hinch. I like being aggressive on 3-0 counts and RBI situations. That's the best chance for Rogers to get a hit there and deliver an RBI, base hit, an RBI single in the case there. Josh Hader came into the game down by 3 runs in the ninth inning. I thought Espada handled the bullpen pretty well, actually, up until the ninth inning. I feel like what he did in the middle part of the game to get it to the back and down by 3, I thought was pretty solid. Like you pull Fromber Valdez. I thought he pulled Fromber Valdez in the perfect time. People were like, oh, he pulled him out too early, or Fromber was unhappy. Well, Fromber, if he was unhappy, should have pitched better.
Mm-hmm.
That would have dictated him going deeper into this game. I thought he pulled Fromber out at the right time before it was worse. Going to Neris in that spot makes sense to me because Neris does have experience working with runners on base, high leverage situations, trying to be a fireman of sorts. he was a little shaky, but was able to get out of it. Then you play the matchup game. You go with King to face the lefties. You go Renel Blanco with multiple innings. Caleb Ferguson to get a lefty. I thought the way that Espada handled the bullpen was really good until the 9th inning. I hated the idea of using Josh Hader down by 3 runs with in game 1 of the wild card, because if you do not get the comeback, and the comeback's not likely, like how often are you scoring 3 or more runs against the back end of a playoff team's bullpen? Not very often. It's not an elimination game. The wild card series, you play 3 games in 3 days. I hated the idea of using Hader in the 9th inning down by 3.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. I'm with you up until that point, because I agreed when they took Fromber out. I had no problem with it, and he just didn't have his A-game stuff, and you couldn't afford to let the thing get any further out of hand. The rest of the guys did their job, but we were all talking about it, watching this thing play out, like, what the hell is he doing, and why is he doing it? And I just don't understand it. I mean, you're going to need, obviously, if you're going to lose this game, but we always talk about when's the best time to use your closer. Well, maybe if it's a tie game or you're in the lead, but 3 down, I don't like using Josh Hader when you know that if you don't win this game, you're going to probably need him the next 2 days. It's not ideal to pitch him 3 games in a row. You hope that you have an offensive explosion enough where you don't have to use your leverage guys much, if at all, but you can't count on that. And this is the playoffs where every situation matters. And I'd rather have a fully loaded Josh Hader going into game 2 and game 3 than I would having to burn him down 3 runs just to keep you close enough. Yeah. I didn't like it at all.
Even if the Astros win the game, I don't like the decision. Now, if you win the game, it allows Espada to be off the hook for a poor decision, because everybody's like, well, look, he did. He kept it to a 3-run game. Astros rallied. They won. That would have let Espada off the hook. The other thing that would let Espada off the hook is if you win by 10 runs tomorrow and don't have to use Hader. But again, that's not very likely. So I hated the decision to use Hader there. I'm okay. Like, every run that you're down in the postseason is the worse and the more egregious that it gets whenever you use your closer. Like, if you're in a tie game in that spot, okay, it makes sense. I'm okay using your closer down by a run in that spot. In the postseason, yeah, you're a home run away from tying it. So I'm okay even using the closer down by a run. 2 runs, I start to get to the territory where I'm like, don't love this in a game 1 of a series, especially a wild card series in which you have to play 3 games in 3 days. It makes a little bit more sense down by 2. To me, the line of demarcation is when you're down by 3. In no way should the closer be in the game down by 3 in game 1 of the wild card series. If your season was on the line, if it's an elimination game for you, okay, I can understand that. But not in game 1 of the wild card series down by 3. That was a poor decision by Espada. That was one of 2 questionable moves I saw from Espada, but that one by far trumps anything else that he did.
I don't like it at all, and I don't even like it getting to the 3-run mark. If it's tied or you're down 1, I understand it. It's a playoff game, so I might lean a little bit at 2. That's it. I mean, 3 runs down, especially with the fact that your offense was giving you absolutely nothing. The last thing I want to do is take a guy and maybe have him a little less than for the next 2 days when I'm going to need him. And based on the scenario playing out until you got to the 9th inning and you weren't there yet, it looked like your offense was just going to lay down and play dead, and you were going to have to win 2 in a row. If I got to win 2 in a row, I need my closer, and I need him at his best, and I need him for the next 2 games. And I have other guys that are still in my bullpen that I could use to get me through the 9th inning so that I could do that. And I don't like the decision then. I don't like it now. And now, I guess if you're an Astros fan, the first thing you hope for is hopefully they got a 3-run lead or a big lead to where they don't have to worry about those back 3.
They will still use him in a 3-run lead. I think you have to. He's shown all regular season he'll use him in a 4-run lead. So there's no way that in a playoff game with a 4-run lead he won't go to his leverage guys. I think it would have to be 5 runs or greater.
Leverage guys, but I could see him going to Abreu and Presley.
If he's going to use Hader down by 3, he's not going to use him up by 4.
Up by 3 or 4, I'm not using him unless I have to.
He used him down by 3 today.
I know.
He's not using him up by 4 tomorrow with the season on the line.
I wouldn't do it unless I absolutely had to. I mean, I would, unless they gave me a reason. If I went to the other 2 guys, if I went to Presley, if I went to Abreu, and if they put a couple guys on or they put a guy on, then I'd start to worry about it enough that I'd have to use them. Yeah. But unless I had to, I'd rely on the other 2 guys tomorrow.
I gotta go with Hader if it's 4 runs or less. 4662, be real. Seriously, if a spotter brings anyone else and it gets out of hand, aren't we second guessing there too? If not Hader there, then who? Go look at my Twitter at Jeremy Branham. I live tweet because I try to make decisions before I can play hindsight. I don't love the hindsight game. I was, and we were watching in the bullpen. We're all, as soon as Hader was shown in the bullpen warming up in the 8th, We're like, what is Espada do? As soon as he was shown in the pin, at which point it's like, well, maybe it's a just-in-case scenario. If they score in the bottom of the 8th, it closes the gap, then maybe use him. So we were second-guessing it before Josh Hader ever towed them out. And then who? Anybody else. Anybody else. How likely is it for you to come back down by 3 runs against one of the very best bullpens in all of baseball, and you're trying to increase your chances of winning 2 games in 3 days? If you're trying to increase your chances of winning 2 games in 3 days, using Hader in the 9th inning down by 3 does the opposite of that. So it's not revisionist history, second guessing, blah, blah, blah. 8779, I disagree with you on Hader. It's a 3-game playoff series. Not going to fault the manager for trying to win every game. You don't have to win every game of a 3-game series. You have to win 2 of them. So saying I don't fault the manager trying to win every game of a 3-game series is a silly comment. You need to win 2 of the 3, not all 3. 4488 instead of Hader. Who are you using? Again, literally anybody else.
Yep.
I probably would have kept Caleb Ferguson in the game. And then if you have to use a righty out of the bullpen, maybe if you feel like you're hell-bent on using a leverage guy, then Brian Abreu, who's a little bit more of an Iron Man and a workhorse, all of that. But I'm trying to avoid those guys the very most that I can. I probably just leave Ferguson in the game, though. And if it gets out of hand, oh well. I'm playing game 2 tomorrow that I need to win anyways. I'm probably not going to win using Hader down by 3, and then I have to win game 3.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at this and because of the fact that it got close in the 9th inning, that there was a lot of emotion that said, that they think differently now. But at the time, it looked like they could muster absolutely nothing offensively. They couldn't get anybody to third base. They couldn't do anything that said that they were going to have a puncher's chance going any further. And you knew you were going to need 2 wins in a row and need your guys. I disagree with you in the fact that I don't think that I would even gone to Abreu there. I could have thrown Presley there, because then Presley, regardless of what you think of Presley, he's been hot and cold, and down the stretch, he wasn't, someone that I felt great about. But then I still got my highest of high leverage guys in Abreu and Hader waiting for the next 2 days. And like you said, both guys can give you multiple innings. Both guys can give you multiple days. They don't have issues going, 2 or 3 days in a row.
Presley has.
No,
Presley
but that's
has.
what I'm saying. But if Presley, then you burn him. But I still got the other 2 horses that I need at the back end for the next 2 games.
I like the premise there way more than using Abreu. But again, literally anybody else.
Right.
Like literally anybody else. 713-780-3776. Let's go out to the HRP listener line. Keith, you're in the Hive with the Bees. What's up, Keith?
Hey, guys, love the show. Was at the game today. Got a single seat in section 134. Unbelievable game leading up into the 9th. I completely agree with Jeremy. There's no reason at all when you have 3 games in 3 days to pitch Hader down 3-0. I was sitting next to Astros fans. Obviously, they were all stunned. The one Tigers fan I sat next to, decked out in Detroit gear, was absolutely thrilled that they were burning him in this game. It made no sense. You had anybody, Arrighetti. You could have kept Blanco out there. Obviously, he's a long arm. It made no sense to use the leverage guys when you have to win tomorrow. Fun 9th inning. But also, side note, Tucker and Jordan, they have no speed on the base paths with those injuries. It's just brutal to watch.
Yeah. Hopefully, if they're on the bases, though, it's not as big a deal. Appreciate the call, Keith. Hope you had fun at the game despite the loss. Your thoughts on Hader in the 9th inning? People were more divided on this than I thought, which is surprising to me. The Astros have announced a starter for tomorrow's game as well. Hunter Brown will get the start tomorrow. But what Joe Espada said about Yusei Kikuchi might shock you. It's the Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Guys, before we go to the break, a word from MyBookie.ag. MyBookie.ag is the place I always tell you need to be if you want to put money down on sports, if you're feeling good about the Astros tomorrow, if you know something and want to play something when there's a college game coming up, a pro game, another baseball game in the playoffs. You name it. If there's a sport on that's on TV and you want to bet on it, chances are you can bet on it at mybookie.ag, and they're always taking care of their customers. They're doing it again right now. They got a deposit match going on for your first deposit if you use our promo code BET975, and keep that promo code in mind no matter when and any time that they ask you for a code. BET975 opens the door for you to get more. It's that simple. When you go in and put money into an account, when you sign up at mybookie.ag and you use our promo code BET975, they're going to put money on top of it instantly, up to $1,000. More money in your account shows up as the minute that you look in and see what you've deposited. And before you know it, more money in your account, more games you can bet on, more chances you can win. And they've got a great community at mybookie.ag on the website too. You can follow the in-game bets. You can get the props. You can look at interacting with people that are like-minded as they're putting money down on games. You can watch games, and you can also interact with your community. And every time you're at mybookie.ag putting money down, make sure you register and you're signed up for the MyBookie Plus program, because the more you bet, the more they notice when you sign up for MyBookie Plus, and the better you get kinds of deals like I'm talking about right now. As you move up the tiers of the MyBookie Plus program, as you are more frequently using MyBookie, you can get better deals, better promotions, and taken care of even better by the people at MyBookie. But always use our promo code because that's important, Bet975. That opens that door that you need for more. But check them out today. Go to mybookie.ag. It's like I always tell you, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. With the only place I tell you to do it, it's mybookie.ag, and use our promo code Bet975.
You're listening to the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios.
4447, you're dead wrong as usual. J-Bone 6482. I thought the same thing when I seen Hader warming up. There's no need to bring him in unless maybe you're down 1 run and you want to keep it tight. Hader, he said Hatter actually. Hatter pitched 1.5 innings a game. Let him pitch in all 3 games. Stop being a wuss. Okay, let's use him in game 1 when they're down by 3, and then let's lessen his efficiency. That way, when you really need him to preserve a 1-run lead in game 3 in the 9th, he's not even close to 100%. 4113, you asked how likely a comeback was. In the broadcast, they said there has been 1 win in playoff history when the home team was down 3 heading into the 9th. That's a long shot.
That's just for winning 1 game, right? Not the series.
Right. Yeah. He's saying that a playoff team has never in playoff history, well, one time in playoff history, has a home team won when they're down by 3 heading into the 9th. So, preserving it, there's a chance to win. It would be the second time in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, from the standpoint of that, adding more fuel to your fire to not use Hader, okay. And look, and yet we were still sitting here, and I swear to you, I thought that Caratini's was more of a bloop. I thought that was going to fall down the left field line, and then Todd Frazier said he really got that one. It didn't seem that way. And then Hayward seemed like, off the bat, first glance, that was going to be down in the corner to possibly tie or win the game. But you can't count on that. And when you know that you're at home and you're going to look like you're going to lose game 1 before you even get to a scenario where you had a chance, I just don't like the fact that you're burning your closer. There's other options for you to use that aren't as important and as big of a factor in this series as Josh Hader.
I'm with you on that, Adrian. I'm torn on Hader coming into the 9th. On one hand, you're down by 3. Why are you bringing in your closer in hopes that your offense finally wakes up? And you're the second team in playoff history to come back down by 3 entering the 9th. That's a home team. But on the other hand, it's the freaking playoffs in a 3-game series. You treat every game as if it's your last. I think I lean more towards being okay with Hader coming in. Okay, I think that's foolish. I don't think that in any way you should be treating every single playoff game as it's your last. So they should have used Fromber for 4 2/3. They should have brought in Hunter Brown for 3, and they should have closed it out with Kikuchi, because that would be like treating every single playoff game like it's your last. You can't do that. You got to think big picture. It is a series for a reason, and you're trying to win 2 of the 3, and you have to make managerial decisions that give you the best chance to win 2 of 3. Astros could still very well win this series. I still think they will win this series, but using Hader today lessened your chances of winning 2 games in the 3-game series than it increased it didn't increase your chances. It decreased them for sure, because he's going to be less effective the more the series goes on and the more you use him in the series, if you do use him all 3 games.
I was going to say, you have to be hopeful then that you're in a position, because I believe they're going to win the series as well, but you have to hopefully be in a position that you don't have to use him tomorrow, so that you buy that day off, so that he is as fresh as he can be for a game 3 then, because of the fact that you look at it and say maybe just Joe Espada not having confidence in anybody else, because he wanted to go to Hader there instead of any of the other arms he could have chosen that would have given you the same opportunity to keep it within 3. I don't like it. I actually hate it, to be honest with you. We hated it at the time. I hate it more now, because you know how necessary Hader's probably going to be a factor in probably both games. And I don't want him, and I don't like the scenario of can't get too far ahead of yourself. But if he pitches 3 days in a row, then what does that do if you do have the luck and the privilege to advance? Yeah. Because now he's burnt with 3 games in a row. He's going to need a day or 2, probably minimum, before you throw him again.
Yeah. Do you have the off day? Does it go straight into the division series?
As I'm saying, there's 1 day for sure that you're going to get off.
Yeah, so that would help.
And then to see that game 1, you're probably looking like he's not available.
I mean, if you're willing to use him 3 games in a row, I think that you're willing to use him 4 or 5 days. Does it lessen his effectiveness? Yes,
I think it does.
But I think if you're willing to use him 3 games in a row, you're darn sure willing to use him 4 times in 5 games. 5044, the TV graphic said the teams are 1 in 538. So 539 times. The Astros, the team has only won once when trailing by 3 runs or more. So the TV graphic said teams are 1 in 538 when trailing by 3 or more runs in the 9th. 1 in 539 now. Everybody should listen to the Killer Bees, because they're absolutely correct about Hader.
Again, if you're 1 down, if you're tied, or if you're in the lead, that's when I use my closer. I'm not using my closer 3 down. I'm just not doing it.
7557 didn't like the hater call today, but getting to the ninth with the chance made it worth it. Did it? You're still down 1-0.
You lost.
Like, you're still down 1-0. How did that make it worth it? And there's anybody else could have also pitched a scoreless ninth. Like just because you used Hader doesn't mean that somebody else could not have pitched a scoreless ninth. In fact, Hader made it a little bit nervous. There was a runner at second base with 1 out. Another reliever could have put up a goose egg there, and you're still down by 3 and entering the same daunting scenario in the bottom of the ninth inning.
That you don't know what you don't know because we didn't see anybody else. But at that point, based on the numbers that were just brought up multiple times and the fact that that's probably, if you're planning on winning this series, it's going to be a 3-game series and you're going to need all the best hands on deck. There were other guys that you could have put in that position to at least keep you as close. And if they didn't, oh well, because you didn't have any clue that it was going to get to a point where you could look back at it and say, gosh, they were 1 hit close. They were that close. They mounted a rally. Because all day, did anything give you the possibility of a rally and give you the possibility that this offense was going to put something together?
No. Credit to them that they did rally in the ninth, but the answer to that question would be no. And then the second managerial decision that I didn't like, that's small peanuts compared to the Hader decision. When Yordan Alvarez led off the ninth inning with a double, and he was at second base with nobody out, and you're down by 3, why are you pinch running there? Like, you're not stretching Yordan to try to score on a base hit to center field or anywhere when you're down by 3 runs anyways. You're not going to run into an out. A base hit, he's going to coast into third. A base hit, he's going to coast in and score. There's nobody at first base. He's at second, so he has a 180-foot buffer on the nearest base runner. What if you get to an extra inning situation? Like, what if Hayward ties the game there? What if Hayward ties the game? You go into the 10th, which you don't have the Manfred man anymore, and then all of a sudden Zach DeZinzo's up in a big spot. Why? Because you felt like you needed a pinch runner with a runner at second and nobody out for Yordan when he could have easily coasted to third, could have easily coasted home.
Yeah, you look at that and you say, look, again, just like we were talking about with Hader, when I said if it's tied or a 1-run game, and that 1 run is so important and so necessary, whether it's going to be tagging up from third base to need speed or scoring on a single from second base, and he's the lead runner, that runner that's so important, that makes total sense. When you're down 3 runs in the ball game and he's the first runner you've got on base trying to mount a rally, I don't understand it either because of the fact that your bench is thin already. You've already made several substitutions to burn a lot of guys on your bench. And if you are trying to get to a scenario where you can push it to extra innings, you're going to need to turn the lineup over. And at a certain point, I'd rather have Yordan Alvarez because the one thing we know, if he can't run and he can't field balls in the outfield, the one thing that he can do, based on the fact that he hit that laser up the middle right on early on to show you his timing was good and he could barrel up a baseball, I'd rather have him at the plate than just about any other Houston Astro, and him sitting on the bench out because of the fact that you made that substitution where you did made 0 sense.
And what are you gaining? Todd brings up in the Twitch, he says you don't want Yordan sliding into home. Under what scenario is Yordan sliding into home down by 3 runs in the 9th inning when he has 180 feet cushion on the nearest base runner? It's not going to happen. And let's play out the scenario. What happened later in the inning after Yordan Alvarez reached second base? Later in the inning, you had Alex Bregman singled, like a single up the middle on the infield single, but Yordan Alvarez will cruise into third base there. He'll cruise into third base. Bregman single up the middle. Zach DeZinzo being in for Yordan, did that matter? No, it didn't. Yordan would have cruised into second base. What happened after that? Yainer Diaz hit a slow ground ball to right field that Yainer Diaz could have walked home. So Yainer Diaz, after being at second base with nobody out, could have walked to third base on the single by Alex Bregman up the middle, and then he could have walked to home plate on the Yainer Diaz single to right. There is not a scenario where Yordan Alvarez down by 3. If it was a 1-run game, much different story. If it's a 1-run game, much different story. But you're not going to risk, if there's a 1% chance that a base runner would be thrown out at home down by 3 in the 9th, it doesn't exist.
No.
Like there is 0 chance that Gary Pettis is going to risk a runner. It could have been anybody. It could have been your fastest base runner. They're not going to risk a play at the plate when they're down by 3 in the 9th in a playoff game. So pinch running there for Yordan Alvarez was pointless. Yeah,
because again, to your point, look, I'm all on board if that's a 1-run ball game. If that's a 1-run ball game, whether I burn Gray Kessinger or I go to DeCenzo, I'm definitely I know I'm gonna need wheels. I know I can't jeopardize. Look, we saw what happened when Yordan tried to get to first base early in the ball game on the potential pickoff play. That looked awkward. That looked painful. That told you everything you need to know about the only thing that he can do right now, and that's hit a baseball. And once he does hit a baseball, if that's a situation where it's do or die, 1 run ties the game, then I totally understand a guy with wheels that can slide that you're not worried about. But if you're down 3 and he's the lead runner to start an inning off, and hey, best case scenario, I'm trying to tie this game and force extras, or I'm trying to get back into it, then that lead runner is not going to be all that important. And you, as base coaches, are going to be telling them every step of the way, do not do anything stupid right now.
It would have been for anybody. It would have been the same for Jordan as it would have been Jeremy Pena.
Tucker.
Like anybody. 2971 says sack fly. You're not going to risk an out at the plate down by 3 runs on a potential sack fly. You could get a sack fly in that situation, but the only time a runner is going to advance from third base to home down by 3 in a playoff game on a potential sacrifice fly is when they can backflip home. That's the only time.
You're not running into an extra out.
You're not running to a chance to get an out.
If there's 1 out, especially if there's 2 outs, but if in any situation, you're not going to give the opportunity to get a second out on a fly ball, no matter who it is, down 3 runs. Yeah, you're just not going to do it.
Yeah, sack fly. 2585, sliding at the plate. 2585, we got beat, guys. Stop blaming some late game calls by our manager. We got our butts kicked. We couldn't hit for crap under tomorrow. Okay, that could be true, but we got to talk for the next 44 minutes. So you sound like a really fun guy to talk to about the game. 60-30, Joe Silas showed his scared management skills. Also, when are we firing Alex Cintron? I think Alex Cintron always takes the blame for poor offensive games. It's like, oh, Cintron, he's the guy to blame.
Remember when Miller and Murphy were the scapegoat for everything going wrong with the pitching staff early in the season? Mm-hmm. It's the easiest crosshairs to get into from a fan base perspective is the hitting and the pitching coaches, depending on who's not doing their job. And we saw it happen all season long. We had the struggles with the pitching staff for a while. We knew that it never really synced up. So when one was good, the other was bad until they absolutely got on fire. And everybody wanted somebody fired. There's no heads that are going to roll because you face Tarek Skubal today. And Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in the American League, and if not the best pitcher in baseball, one of them. And when you face a guy like that, there's no way you're going to put your hitting coach in the crosshairs and say, you got to do better, dude. No, because the hitters had to do their job, and it was a tough job to do in an uphill climb against a guy with an arm like that.
Yeah, offense to blame for me, but it's not Cintron. 4662, the double speak is wild. How would you leave Jordan in the game, citing it's a 3-run game, and then not put Hader in because it's a 3-run game? Makes zero sense. Joel, stop letting the double-mindedness go unchecked. I guess he's talking to me. Much different scenarios. Like Josh Hader has a gas tank as a pitcher. Like he's got a tank as a pitcher. Going to him today uses a bit of the gas in his tank, and it's not going to be able to be filled back up if you use them today and tomorrow. And if you use them both tomorrow and then the next day, and if you use them tomorrow and the next day, he's going to be empty when he comes into the game. Jordan doesn't have a gas tank. We're asking him to cruise cautiously into the next base. Like trying to compare the pitcher and the hitter there is one of the worst cross references I've ever seen, quite frankly.
And I also been very outspoken. And the fact I don't like either move because of the deficit that you were facing. I don't like using Hader because you're down 3. I don't like trying to, take Jordan out of the game because if I am going to anticipate that if some rally does take place, that he's not the important run, they're not going to focus on him and you're not going to do anything stupid. But if you are able to tie the game, what you're trying to do, his bat is so much more important than anybody on that roster that you could possibly use.
Yeah, the gain of adding a pinch runner in that spot, which is minimal at best, is not worth the risk of potentially losing Jordan in extras. 6805, what about a pass ball situation? Would you rather have Jordan or DeZenzo doing that? Again, I am not trying to take home plate if it risks an out at all. If there's a 1% chance at an out at the plate, I am not sending the runner down by 3 runs in the 9th. The run does not matter. Base runners matter. Bringing the tying run to the plate matter. You're not going to risk running into an out at the plate.
You need 3 runs. You don't need 1. So therefore, you've heard the term used in baseball before, station to station. You don't run yourself out of an inning. You don't run yourself into an out. You're not going to be focused, nor is the defensive team going to be focused on that first run. They're going to be hyper-focused on making sure the tying run doesn't get on. If he does, he doesn't get into scoring position. And the fact that they don't get 3. They're not even going to be focused on that lead guy. And if you are planning on tying the game, you need Jordan Alvarez if you do become lucky enough to be the 539th opportunity to get that opportunity.
1-run game, I get it. 3-run game does not matter. You're pulling your best bat out of the lineup for no reason. So Joe Espada after the game, he says that Hunter Brown will start tomorrow. He said tomorrow is a do or die game. If I have to use Kikuchi tomorrow, I will use Kikuchi tomorrow. What do you think of Joe Espada potentially having to use Yusei Kikuchi tomorrow? And we'll talk about the Jeremy Pena bunt in the ninth inning. What did you make of those decisions? What do you make of the potential decision to use Kikuchi tomorrow if he needs to? 713-780-ESPN, HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. It is the Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
Hey, guys, before we go to the break, a word from a good friend, Doc Linville. Doc Linville, right here in the Med Center, is the best in the business at doing so many things. He does plastic surgery. He does Botox. They do spa treatments. But the one thing that I have personal experience with that I think you can really benefit from is the fact that he can get your hair back, and he can also take care of the hair that you have that's thinning with the treatments and the procedures that he has right here at his clinic. And you can find out all about it at 975hair.com. Go to 975hair.com, see all the information, sign up for a consultation. I'm telling you to do that because it costs you nothing. I'm never going to tell you to go and do that and spend your money just for the sake of spending your money. I'm telling you that because you listen to us and you're interested in what he could possibly do for you, you are going to get a free consultation if you go to 975hair.com and sign up for it. It costs $150 for people off the street. You don't have to pay a thing. And then you go in and they explain everything to you. And simply put, between the PRP treatments, which really is like fertilizing your lawn, there's still hair there. It's just not as strong and thick as it's been in the past. And using the PRP treatments can get that old hair back from the thickness and the strength and the overall appearance. And if and when they look at you in the consultation, they're going to tell you quite honestly, you can get by with PRP and we can get your hair back. If they are going to be honest with you and say, hey, you're far beyond PRP, there's not enough follicles left, let me explain to you what the NeoGraft does. Because the NeoGraft basically takes hair from areas you're never going to lose your hair, which is the sides and the back. I didn't know that till I had the consultation. They explained to me, when you see guys that are balding, they never lose the hair on the sides and the back. Everywhere else is possible. So what they do is take some of that, kind of resodding your lawn, put it where you need it most. The procedure, painless in my case, but really it's fairly quick. And the fact is, immediately you will see follicles put in place and there that weren't there before. And then in 6 to 9 months, when everything has a chance to settle in and follicles really grow and they plant their roots, you are going to see great lush hair that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Go to 975hair.com, set up your consultation right now. Tell them I sent you by, because Doc Linville's the best in the business.
713-780-ESPN, HR&P listener line. So Joe Espada, after the game, asked on who will pitch tomorrow. He says Hunter Brown's going to get the start. Joe Espada, tomorrow is a do-or-die game. If I have to use Kikuchi tomorrow, I will use Kikuchi tomorrow. What do you think of the idea that if he must, he will use Kikuchi in game 2?
I hate that. I hate it with a passion, because as much as I understand your season's on the line, we just talked about the guys you didn't use. We just talked about the guys in your pen that you still have that you can use. If you need another starter, you have another starter in your bullpen. You have the back end of your bullpen guys that are going to be available. But because it looks like if you are looking for advantages between you and the Tigers, they're going to probably look to go to an opener, but they're going to look to all hands on deck. I think, AJ Hinch said it was chaos. They were going to try and, with glue and tape, piece together the next 2 games. You're at a distinct advantage by the fact that you have 2 above average pitchers that are sitting there waiting to go. I would use everybody but Kikuchi tomorrow, just so that you have a guy that can give you innings that can be effective in a game 3 should you get there. I don't like it. I don't think it's thinking too forward. I don't think it's like putting the cart in front of the horse in this case, because you have a lot of other quality arms you can go to.
Yeah, Oscar, I don't like it either. I think a lot of times whenever you have these do-or-die games, but you still have to win multiple games, people kind of overreact to that one singular game. Like, well, you got to win that one or you can't get to the other one, which is true. But you also can't advance if you don't win both. Right. So, you have to do what is best to win both games. You can't do what is best to win game 2, and then all of a sudden you have absolutely nothing in game 3, and you've killed your chances of winning a game 3. So, yes, game 2 is a must-win. But you know what other game is a must-win? Game 3. So you have to make decisions that give you the best chance to win both games. Other than if there's not an extra inning game, I could see a little bit the idea if you've run out of pitching, it's the 14th inning, and Yusei Kikuchi's the final guy left, and you have to use him. Okay, that's desperation, that's emergency, that's something that I would be okay with. But if you're going to Yusei Kikuchi tomorrow and the game's 9 innings long, you've really, really emptied the tank to win a game 2, and then you've really decreased your chances of winning a game 3. So I'm not a fan of it. Oscar says there will be no game 3 if they don't win game 2. Doofus, that's a great point. You're right. There is no ALDS if you don't win game 2 and game 3. So I don't like the idea of Yusei Kikuchi being in the bullpen a day before another must win, should you win tomorrow if you're lucky enough. If you get into a Roger Clemens 18-inning game situation, he had to come in the game, okay, I get that. But there's no reason he should be in the bullpen in the first 9 innings tomorrow.
No, and you're right about lessening the chances for the game 2 and the game 3, and you need both wins, and you've got to give yourself a fighter's chance. We've already talked about guys you could use, but the reason why they set the roster up the way they did is they have a lot of quality arms on this team. They have guys that can go multiple innings that you can go to. You have guys that pitch today that you could go to tomorrow if you have to. But Kikuchi gives you the best chance, along with the back end of your bullpen guys that can go 2 days in a row in the case of Presley and Abreu, no matter what happens with Hader tomorrow, to where that grossly shortens the amount of pitchers you're going to need tomorrow. Because if those guys each give you 1, maybe one of them can give you 2 in the case of Abreu. And depending on how many you get from Kikuchi, you would assume he's probably hovering in around 5. Then you're already through 7 of the 9 innings. I'll take that chance knowing that I've got guys that are above average that get a lot of outs, as opposed to trying to do what AJ Hinch is going to do for the next 2 days and piece it all together, especially when a lot of your guys are going to be taxed.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that quote from Espada. Huey in spring, Espada's doing dumb baseball again, overthinking and trying to force a magic moment. I think that's fair. I think using Hader in the 9th inning, and if potentially he uses Kikuchi tomorrow before extra innings, I would say that is up there too. What'd you make of the Pena bunt in the 9th inning? The Astros had 1 across. You had runners at first and second, nobody out, tying runs at first base. Jeremy Pena represents the winning run. Lays down a bunt after fouling off a sacrifice bunt attempt, and then lays it down on the second effort.
I had absolutely no problem with it because of the fact that, look, he has a tendency to flail and chase a lot of bad pitches. The last thing you need is a guy that doesn't give you anything, strikes out there. You don't have the runners in scoring position. If you do what he does, you give the guys coming up behind him, 2 guys have a chance to hit. You take yourself out of a double play ball too, and all you need is 1 knock that could tie the ball game for you. I had absolutely no problem with it.
Yeah, I think that it what he's doing that day matters. Like, I don't think that there's an automatic bunt. I don't think there's an automatic swing away when it comes to that specific scenario. I think you kind of have to take the temperature of what the guy looks like that day. This is kind of where I'm anti-analytics. This is more whenever I'm like pro. What is the gut feeling with this? Like more the Dusty Baker. Like I don't
Eye
care what the
test,
numbers
yeah.
tell me. Pena was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. I think it's an easy
Yeah.
bunt in that situation. If Pena was hitting line, like if Bregman had a good day at the plate, 2 for 4, missed a home run by 6 inches. He missed another home run that he yanked down the left field line, maybe by a couple of feet if he would have, straightened it out, like Little League parents would say. Like, no way I'm bunting Alex Bregman in that spot who's having a good day at the plate. Obviously not like a Yordan who's really good, Kyle Tucker who's really good, probably not even like an Altuve. But whenever I have a guy who's 0 for 3, struggling, 3 strikeouts, like even if it was 0 for 3 with laser right at people, okay, swing away. But when it's 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts, and you look overmatched at the plate that day, I'm okay with the bunt in that spot.
Yeah, I'm fine with it for that, and the fact that, again, like I said, it takes you out of the double play. All you need is one hit, and you should conceivably tie the ball game. So it sets you up to put both runners in scoring position, tying run into scoring position. That's really huge for you. So those two scenarios in itself, on top of the fact that Pena was struggling, Pena, has a propensity for double play balls and or the swing and miss as he was doing today. So I had zero problem with any of it. I actually thought he laid down a good bunt because of the fact that a lot of guys on this team can't bunt. He puts you in a situation where you had just all you needed was one hit from two guys, and you had a chance to tie the ball game.
713-780-ESPN, HRP listener line. Get your thoughts on it. Do we still feel confident about the Astros' chances to win Game 2 and Game 3? Will Kunkel just posted a stat that no team in the wild card era, in the wild card round, has come from an 0-1 deficit. Never happened, which is kind of interesting.
At
But it's
home,
only been a couple
the
of
home
years,
team?
period.
Or all teams.
Period. But I think this is only, the third year of it?
Yeah, that's true.
It's only the third year, so they're 0 for 8.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that's just
I like the
huge
pitching
historical
scenario.
number.
I like the fact the offense should be better against whoever they throw that's not Tarek Skubal. Let's buck the trend.
All right, 713-780-ESPN. He's still confident despite the Astros being down 1-0. 713-780-3776. It is the Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5.
And the 0-2. Ground ball right side. Through for a base hit. DeCenzo scores. Moving to second is Bregman. It's an RBI single for Diaz. And the Astros are alive. It's 3-1 Tigers.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
No Michael K highlights. No Michael K highlights. That broadcast was a hard listen. At least
tough.
it wasn't Carl Ravitch. I think I'd rather have Michael K than Carl Ravitch. But Michael K, not a fan of Michael K. Not a fan of Michael K. Todd Frazier's okay, I guess. Not my favorite, but I could tolerate Todd Frazier. Michael K, not so much. And then Tim Kurchin, that guy is a nerd. Tim Kurchin's quirky little stories. I don't need to be hearing about your quirky little stories in a playoff game, Timmy. If it's in the middle of 162, I get it. If it's Sunday Night Baseball in July, I get it. I don't need to know about what Babe Ruth's bat boy used to hand him in the third inning. I don't need to hear that, Kirchy.
Jeremy, today is Rod Carew's birthday, and it means nothing to the Astros and the Tigers. Tim Kurkjian, ESPN.
Okay.
I don't mind him of the three. The other two I can absolutely not stand. And the last thing I need is a pseudo Yankees broadcast when I'm trying to see the Astros win a series at the most crucial time of the year. I can't stand Michael K. I couldn't ever stomach watching him and A-Rod together doing their little ditty on ESPN2. But
you watched it.
I don't need Todd for, huh?
But you watched it.
No, the one time I peeped it was the fact that Roger Clemens was on.
Yeah,
and I wanted to see Clemens from his house here talking about, telling some of his stories. I don't need to see the other two dudes. And Todd Frazier's fine on the Little League World Series. I don't need Todd Frazier chiming in on an Astros-Tigers game.
75 says Tim is an idiot. Battery says listening to K, knowing he hates the team he's broadcasting, makes it worse. It does. I don't want Michael K on my Astro playoff games. And Kurchin's fine during the regular season. Adorable, quirky, little nerdy guy. I don't need him on Astro playoff baseball. I hated that.
Yeah,
TV
he's the
crew.
lovable little baseball encyclopedia that could. That's fine. But Michael K trying to pull a y'all too during the Open. It's like the last thing you're going to use as a phrase, Mr. East Coast, Mr. Yankee guy, is y'all. Stop right there.
Todd the show, Michael K bothered me less than I thought he would, but Todd likes New York, and Todd's the ultimate contrarian. 5315, yeah, but also a team has never made the playoffs after starting the season 7-19, so streaks have to end at some point. I don't put a whole lot of weight in the wild card teams that are down 0-1, have lost all 8 series. That will end at some point.
Small
and probably sooner rather than later. I still like the Astros' chances to win. I would put it at 50-50. Yes, you have to win 2 games against a playoff caliber team. That is hot, but they'll also be with their, they're going to throw openers. They're going to throw a bullpen. Now, it's a good bullpen. Like saying they're going to throw their bullpen at you. Well, their bullpen's stinking good. They're going to throw some good arms at you. But I will give the Astros the pitching advantage. I like the Astros offense more. I still think they have a 50-50 shot to win this series.
Yeah, I think it's actually better than that. I know the odds shouldn't say that it is. I feel good about the series because I feel like that you're going to get a little extra energy boost and motivation from the fact that you put a rally together where you almost tied the game. And you got guys, Yordan, for as much as we know that this entire team kind of lies on the shoulders of Yordan Alvarez, and I was deeply concerned coming into the series, forget how close to 100% is he? Can he hit the baseball? Because that's all that really matters. And at the end of the day, when he hit the 100+ mile an hour line drive off the mound straight back at Skubal, you realized, okay, against a guy that's that good of a pitcher to hit a ball that well, I feel really good that his timing's there, and that's hyper important to this squad. So I feel good that they're going to put some runs up. I feel good that they've got the pitchers that they need at the right time to face this team. The Tigers don't hit home runs. They don't put a ton of runs on the board, and I like our chances.
Yeah. Did you wish Skubal got hurt whenever Yiner hit that line drive at him?
Well, it wasn't his throwing arm, so it bothered me less.
That's what I asked. Did you want him to be hurt, or when he sprained his ankle? Arguing
you caught the sprained ankle. I didn't know what the hell was wrong with him.
Did you want him to
be
hurt? You're doing a good job of ducking the question here, Blankers. You should sign up to be a politician. You're ducking the question. Did you want Skubal to be hurt in either one of those moments?
I would love to have him out of the game, Jeremy.
All right. Yes.
I don't know. He still didn't say hurt, though.
Well, it kind of implies it. I think it implies it, though. I just
need you guys to register to vote. This is a very important time. And regardless of which way you vote, I just want to encourage you to vote.
If anybody wanted Skubal hurt today, in either one of those instances, the line drive comebacker that hit his right hand, the little sprained ankle. If any of y'all wanted him hurt, y'all can never get mad at me for saying I want to earhole Lamar Jackson in a playoff game. You can never get mad at me again. All right? We got it? All right, 713-780-3776.
They're still going to be mad at you.
Oh, no. 1313, speaking of such, come on. It's not like y'all are ever annoying. It's a good point. We're not. Never annoying. 713-780-3776. People are sending us inappropriate text messages.
You guys would never point it out either.
I think these are Tiger fans trolling us now, actually. I think some Tiger fans
Feeling
are
pretty
trolling
good right
us.
now, I got to believe.
Yeah, all right, 713-780-3776. So I'm 50-50. You're slightly more. Where is BMAC Graph? BMAC Graph, where are you? We haven't got your thoughts. You still okay with the Astros in the series?
I expected the Astros to win this series 2-1 with the 1 being today, so nothing's moved for me. I mean, obviously the first 8 innings of offense weren't great until they loaded the bases in the 9th and drove home one with the Yonder Diaz single. But I haven't moved at all, so I'll put it 66% Astros.
All right, 66?
Yeah, 66.
All right. 713-780-3776. What do you think the Astros' chances are to still win this series? Win tomorrow with Hunter Brown, win the following day on Thursday with maybe Yusei Kikuchi if he's not needed by a spotter tomorrow. 713-780-3776. It is the Bees on ESPN 97.5 and ESPN 92.5. Oktoberfest coming up on Saturday. Make plans now. It's going to be so much fun. Saturday, October 5th, Sunday, October 6th. This Saturday, this Sunday, Oktoberfest on the Kima Boardwalk. German beer, delicious. German food, delicious. Live music, cornhole tournament, Stein holding competition, costume contest, and much more. It's going to be a great time. Also, it's free for you to attend, walk around. So head out there October 5th, October 6th, this Saturday, this Sunday. Beer tickets, beer steins, food tickets can be purchased at the event or online today. Some of the beer that you might choose to sample: Yingling Oktoberfest, Voodoo Juicy Haze IPA, Shiner Oktoberfest, and much, much more. You can get the souvenir steins available for purchase now, KimaBoardwalk.com, while supplies last. And the food, out of this world. For a little appetizer, just put a little something in your belly. How about that soft pretzel with the beer cheese? Oh, it's so good. Sausage on a stick, German potato salad, German beer, bratwurst, delicious. And then last but not least, schnitzel on a stick. It is fantastic. Get out there Saturday. Live music will start at 1. That'll carry you to 10 o'clock. Stein holding competition, cornhole tournament at night, and then we'll do it all over again on Sunday. Live music noon till 9. Stein holding competition at 5. Cornhole at 5:30. Check out KimaBoardwalk.com. Check out the entire concert lineup and see the full schedule of events. It's the Kima Boardwalk Oktoberfest. Learn more at KimaBoardwalk.com.
This is Ron Ansana with your market scoreboard report on ESPN 97.5. Stocks slid on Wall Street on the first day of the fourth quarter as Iran fired at least 180 ballistic missiles into Israel, many of which Israel said were intercepted, but still increasing now the tensions and the risk in the Middle East that this turns into a regional war that involves considerably more firepower and maybe even more superpower activity. That rattled markets in the U.S., although stocks closed off their lows and oil closed off its highs. The Dow lost 179 points to 42,156. The S&P down 53, coming off a record close on Friday at 5708. NASDAQ down 278 points to 17,910. Oil prices at one juncture up more than 5%, finished with a gain of $2.33, $70.40 the barrel. Flight to safety into gold and U.S. Treasuries evident today. Gold up 21.80 to 26.81, while the yield on the 10-year note dropped to 3.74%, in part also on some weaker than expected manufacturing data. The dollar firmed, again, just pointing to that flight to quality into U.S. assets.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's the Killer Bees with Joel Blank and Jeremy Branham.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Killer Bees, ESPN 97.5, ESPN 92.5. Soccer matters in Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis started a fight with the Houston Texans media today, by the way. So Glenn Davis will be on next, top of the hour, carrying you until 7 o'clock. 713-780-3776. Let's go out to the HRP listener line. John, you're in the Hive with the Bees. What's up, John?
Yeah, man. Hey, how y'all doing, man? You know, honestly, my feeling is this right here, man. I feel like the best lineup. I feel like they should have started that world champion. That he's up in age a little bit, but he's been there before in all those hot spots. I would have started Haywood over mine. I would have started Singleton at first base because Singleton, he might hit you one anytime, and he's probably a better player when he's starting. You bring Singleton in a later inning and it's cold and expect him to do something. I just don't feel that was the way to go. My lineup would have been Singleton starting and would have been Haywood starting. You can't underestimate an ex-champion. And honestly, frankly, with you all, if you don't mind me saying, I don't even know why Myers is still on this team, brother. I really don't. But that's what I got to say about it. And one more thing. His father was using 1,000 pitches like he was playing the Dodgers or playing the Yankees or something. I didn't even get that one. Y'all have a good day.
Appreciate the call, John. Love the passion. I don't think you can agree with that. I can't agree with that just simply because of the fact that you're talking about, one of the best lefties in baseball. And so throwing Jason Hayward against the lefty, and you saw the fact that Jason Hayward has to really sell out to catch up with a fastball that's anywhere near above average. And a lefty causes all kinds of troubles to that. And Singleton's the same way. Singleton facing a lefty is going to struggle mightily with balls coming at him and then diving out over the other side of the plate. And the fact that he has a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to go with everything he's got. I understand that you want the kind of hitters that you're looking for in those two guys, but I can't expect that those two guys were going to have success against the best left-hander in baseball this year from a starting pitcher perspective.
Yeah, I can't throw Hayward and Singleton out there against lefties. Singleton's been terrible against lefties. Hayward literally doesn't play against lefties. I expect them. I haven't seen who Hinch is going to use as a starter tomorrow. It might not matter if he's going opener, if he's going bullpen day. I would have to imagine if there is a righty starting the game or if there's a righty that's going to be the bulk guy, I would expect Singleton to be at first base, and I would expect Hayward to be in the outfield. But I was okay with today's lineup. If anything, I might have used Chaz because Chaz started to get hot a little bit there at the end. He hits lefties better. It shouldn't matter that he had a good plate appearance in the ninth inning because that shouldn't have influenced my decision earlier. The only reason I was okay with Chaz not being in the lineup, though, is because you don't really know what he is.
Right.
Because of the injury, yeah, he saw live pitching, but that's different than playoff pitching. So I was okay with today's lineup. I thought maybe you could see Chaz because there's a lefty on the mound and Chaz hits lefties well. But I was okay with today's lineup. I thought Chaz did have a good plate appearance, though.
He did.
To where if you are facing a lefty at some point in these playoffs, I would go with Chaz over Dubon, maybe even Myers.
I would too. I like the at-bat from Chaz. But you're right. From the standpoint of Jordan is just the rarity that doesn't need to go and go for any kind of, extended period of time or rehab assignments, things like that. Jordan can just turn it on, flip a switch whenever he needs to get his timing back. And it seems to be there. We saw it again today. I don't feel the same way about Chaz. Yes, Chaz maybe figured some things out when he was down in Sugarland, came back, looked like he was a little better. But once he got hurt, you just don't know what you don't know. And you can't help but go back to knowing what you knew all season, which was Chaz wasn't a very good hitter. So I didn't need to see Chaz in the lineup today. I didn't expect to see Chaz in the lineup today. But obviously with all hands on deck and depending on what A.J. Hinch does, and especially because he's going to be making multiple substitutions, I have a lot of confidence in Jason Hayward. I have a lot of confidence in the other guys that he can use. And John Singleton showed you that when he plays, he has the propensity to get hits in a game and be a good hitter for you. But Caratini, I don't have any problem with ever at first base or when he's in the lineup because he's a switch hitter and he gets knocks for you as well.
He is better as a lefty than he is a righty, which kind of throws it a wrinkle into the whole Singleton thing. So it'll be interesting to see there. And then the opponent doesn't really matter to me. Like you're managing a playoff game against the Tigers. Who cares if it's the Yankees or the Dodgers? To me, you manage the game. You manage a playoff game the same, no matter who the opponent is. Now, of course, you play like the splits and stuff like that. But if like him using Hader in the ninth inning day, we don't like. Some people are okay with it. If it was the Yankees or the Dodgers in the other dugout, I still wouldn't have liked it. Yeah, the opponent to me is not really something that factors into this in my mind.
I'm playing to my strengths, and I'm playing to put my team in the best position to win. And it doesn't matter what the uniform the other team's wearing. It matters, I think, which arm the pitcher's pitching which.
I'm with you on that. Jason Hayward was a good addition. Yeah, he was. Dana Brown was a good addition. He's just not going to start against lefties. 5199, I had to stop watching football because I want everyone hurt when I do. Fair point. At least you're honest. 5199, yes, I wanted Skubal hurt. Hinch apparently said Skubal had cramps. That's the reason that he left the game in the sixth. Now, that was about the time that his time would have been up anyways. Like he threw 88 pitches. He almost never goes above 100. He has like a few games where he's went above 100. But if he's healthy, do you leave him in for the seventh to at least start the inning? Probably.
Probably because you can save another one of your arms. And you saw, to your point of how good this bullpen can be for them, but you saw Vest today, and Vest can bring it. And they've got some guys on the back end of their bullpen that also can to top out at 100 miles an hour that have filthy stuff. And if you could save one of those guys or take an inning, because I think Vest went 2, that you could save a little extra wear and tear on a guy that you're probably going to lean on when you lean on all these arms that you still have to go to. Sure, you'd love to do that. But, Skubal had some, regardless of what situations he didn't have to face, there was some high leverage. He ended up with 2 different injuries. He had the liner back to him. He had the injury with his ankle. And if he also was experiencing cramps at a certain point, he did his job.
1313, I love listening to the show because you guys have a good sense of humor. Send the nice stuff to other shows. We don't like niceties. 9229, I think it's hilarious to hear all these so-called Astro fans say that it's over. It's freaking baseball, man. Teams win 2 games in a row all the time. If anything, this was a must-win for Detroit, having their Cy Young pitcher going. The Astros clearly have the advantage in pitching going forward, and I'm not even an Astro fan. I do think that's true. Detroit winning this game was far more important than the Astros winning game 1. I think that is a rational take.
No, I looked at the series, and the biggest thing that I was fearful of the Detroit Tigers was the guy that pitched today for them. The rest of their lineup doesn't scare me. I know that everybody can say they were the hot team coming in, and that's fair, and that's true. But to me, I was hopeful that they could get to Skubal. But looking at his record, looking at his numbers, looking at his dominance, I was anticipating this was going to be a 3-game series, and if there was a game to lose, it was going to be game 1, and I hoped that the offense jumped on him early and maybe set a tone that they could capitalize on and kind of ride some momentum with. It didn't happen. But I do like their chances in game 2 and in game 3 if they get there because of the pitching and the fact that I believe this hitting is going to be just fine.
I like your chances in game 3 a lot less if you use Yusei Kikuchi in the first 9 innings of tomorrow's game, though. So I would hesitate. Please, Joe, reconsider. Please do not use Yusei Kikuchi unless the game goes to extra innings. And even in that case, like maybe 13th, 14th inning.
I mean, he's got to be the last guy out of the bullpen, right?
Can we just be realistic?
That's the only scenario where he should be in.
I do not want him. I don't want him to even think about going into the bullpen. I don't want him to have his spikes on, turf shoes only on tomorrow, Kikuchi. I don't want you putting your spikes on until the game goes to extra innings. That's the only time Yusei can go to the
7 hours of sleep tonight. That's it. Because he only needs the 14. He only needs the 14 when he's pitching. So I don't need, because I'm not using him. I think that was coach speak. Obviously, you're going to say as a manager, all hands are on deck. Sure. Everybody that I have ready, I'm going to use if I need to get a win. But there's no way in hell I'm using him unless it's an absolute last-ditch desperation. I got to have a guy eat innings because we're late.
I'd like to believe that, Joel, and I think I do. But after we saw how he used Hader today, the decision we disagreed with Yordan, I'm not always sure if Yordan sees or Espada sees things the ways we do. So I'm not 100% confident that he'll use Ration there. When we're talking about how the Kikuchi gets used.
Yeah, today was a baseball game, though. Like, Frommer didn't pitch well. Could have easily gotten out of the second inning, though, without giving up a run. Despite not pitching well, despite not having command, could have easily gotten out of the second inning. Whether it's not walking Torkelson, whether it's turning the double play, yes, you give credit to the runner hustling. But how about just getting out of the inning? Mm-hmm. Like, there was every single Tiger run in that second inning, which is all the runs they scored, came with 2 outs.
That's ridiculous.
All 3 came with 2 outs. You look at the Astros offensively. Alex Bregman missed a home run twice by, the first one that he yanked foul a few feet. The second one that he hit off the top of the Crawford box wall. That was an inch away from being a home run, 6 inches away from being a home run. So it was like one of those inches, like game is decided. It's a game of inches type of thing. But you lose, and you got to win the next 2.
Yeah, but you got to feel you shouldn't feel like there's no hope. You should feel confident.
I feel like they dominated you.
I don't feel like I feel like most people don't think there's no hope. I think it's a loud view.
I'm kind of when you see a text like that, and you're right that there are people that are already pulling the season's over. Great year, guys. See you next season, kind of things.
I think they're trolling.
I hope they are, because I think that you saw enough positives, and just what you saw in the 9th inning gives you hope that this team wasn't completely outmatched. And once you got Scooble out of the picture, you had guys throwing 100 miles an hour that you were on. You had great at-bats from some of the guys you didn't expect to have great at-bats. Hayward got completely outmatched the last at-bat that he had and got burned by a fastball, and he was on it. Chaz had the at-bat we're talking about. There's a lot to be – and then when you talk about the pitching matchup, I think they're in as good a spot as you can be down 0-1 in a 3-game series.
1029. If the Astros make it to Thursday, do we see Scooble? There's no chance you're going to see Scooble on 1-day rest after 88 pitches.
No freaking way.
I don't think Madison Bumgarner would pitch on 1 day's rest in 88 pitches after a game one. Yeah, there's no way.
No.
There's no way he's throwing.
But if they do, the broadcast will tell us how brilliant A.J. Hinch is and what a great job he's, because that was the entire storyline, the entire game.
They were riding A.J. Hinch today. There's no doubt about that.
Every single move he made was the smartest move a manager's ever made.
How many Astros fans?
I know, it's like, where have you been?
Yeah, are gonna jump on that bandwagon.
5160. I have a newborn at home, so I missed it. Congrats. Why didn't Blanco come in right after Fromber instead of later in the game? I think they were putting out the fire. And then they wanted to give Ronel Blanco a fresh inning, but then it's like, there's a left-handed pocket that I want to use my lefty against, so let me use my lefty against that left-handed pocket, and then we'll go to Blanco.
And Neris has playoff experience in high-leverage situations to get you out of a jam like that, whereas I don't believe Blanco does.
Yeah, but he did bring Blanco in during the middle of an inning.
He did, but it wasn't
King.
But it wasn't in the same kind of leverage as what Neris was facing.
Yeah, I don't remember if there was anybody on
I think there was runner on third base.
I don't know. I'm talking about when he came in.
When Neris did, there was runner on third. Yeah, I don't remember what Blanco did. Yeah,
when Blanco came in. All right, does it for us. Tomorrow, same thing. You can listen to the Astros right here, ESPN 97.5. We'll be on with immediate reaction afterwards. Brian behind the glass doing partial work. He's Blank. I'm Branham. We'll talk to you tomorrow after the Astros game. Houston, Soccer Matters. Glenn Davis up right now.
All right, welcome into Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5 here tonight. 713-780-3776 is the number to call in tonight here. It's always presented by John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. Look, if you want to jump in tonight, the number throughout the show, again, 713-780-3776. I would keep that handy as well because I will be giving out, and these are lower bowl seats, to Chivas and Club America. So be ready for that. Also, Dynamo New England Revolution tickets tonight. Keep that number handy. El Clasico tickets coming up October 12th, Energy Stadium. Apparently over 50,000 seats are sold for that. And that's what you call brand awareness, Chivas and Club America. Tomorrow night, the Houston Dynamo in a big one against the New England Revolution. We will do this show live tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Central from Shell Energy Stadium. On the heels of Jeremy and Joel, I know a lot of Astros talk. I caught the game today here. Well, what a performance from the Cy Young winner for Detroit. The Astros made it interesting late in that one. They get another crack at it tomorrow. Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis Sock at Soccer Matters GD, Facebook Soccer Matters, and of course YouTube Soccer Matters as well. Subscribe and join us in our little bit of a football adventure here that we take on weekly. Wanted those who have a take tonight, whether it's on the Houston Dynamo, whether it's on the international game. I did pose the question of international football. What was the biggest occurrence this weekend for you? For me, it was a 4-goal performance and a pretty spectacular one. But we can talk about that in a minute. But what's your take on that? 713-780-3776. Mine was Cole Palmer. Credible solo performance, had 4 goals in the first half against Brighton for Chelsea. First player to score 4 goals in the first half of a Premier League game. Hasn't been done before. I think one was a free kick, one was a penalty. 21st minute, he equalized. He then converted a penalty, then a superb free kick, and then completes a hat trick in 10 minutes. In the next 10 minutes, then adds a 4th right before halftime after... How about that? Jadon Sancho getting things done for Chelsea now. 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776. 4 other players have scored 4 goals in the same half of a Premier League match, but he's the first to do it in 45 minutes. So I guess the others must have scored in first half stoppage time. Other international matches, there were big ones. And I don't know what the Barcelona loss meant to you, to Osasuna. I know there was some rotation from Hansi Flick and some differing things there. But that was 4-2 Osasuna over Barcelona. The first Barcelona loss in the table in La Liga. Good for Osasuna. They were up 2-0 at half. They were the better team, clearly. Bayern Munich. 1-1 with Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer never losing last year. Robert Andrich put Leverkusen on the board in the 31st minute, and then Alexander Pavlovic in the 39th. Bayern had 70% of the possession, 18 shots to 3. Manchester United got smacked at Old Trafford in a big, big way by Spurs. Brennan, Kulusevski, Solanke, the head coach Ange Postecoglou. Spurs fans are singing, and sending off in the 42nd minute complicated this for Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United. Bruno getting sent off. So problems remain there. Fans calling for him to be sent off. Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid 1-1. Very even data-wise, 12 shots, 4 on target each. Possession was 51% to 49. Dead even data. Nasty moment with fans throwing stuff on the field. They had to stop the game. Simeone went over to the crowd to try and calm them down. Man, fan behavior is just, it is on the edge. I mean, the NFL, there's constantly fights at games. I don't know. It's not just soccer, by the way. Dead even data. That was a Madrid derby, 1-1. So that leaves Barcelona 21 points after their first loss. Real Madrid's 3 points behind them. Missed opportunity to close the gap on Barcelona. Atletico Madrid, 16 points. After that, the top 8 includes Athletic Club, Mallorca, Villarreal, Osasuna, and then Real Betis. That's the top 8. Now, our interest is in Leganes, who was promoted. And Leganes was promoted. That's part of Blue Crow. And that's Jeff Lunau's team. They're in 16th. They have 1 win, 4 draws, and 3 losses. So in 8 games, they've only lost 3. The problem for them is scoring goals. They're a good defensive team. They only have 5 goals. They've conceded 9. With a few more goals, you flip a result or 2 there. Christian Pulisic on the weekend for the United States men's national team in Milan. How about that? Scoring a Milan derby. This is something special. Scored a great solo goal in that game in the 10th minute. 2-1 over Inter Milan. It was at the San Siro on Sunday. Big celebrations and pretty spectacular that, we have an American player producing in the Serie A, and Christian Pulisic, big. Biggest moment of the weekend in world football. What is it? 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776. I told you what mine was. It was Cole Palmer. And scoring 4 goals in the first 45 minutes of a game for Chelsea in a 4-2 win over Brighton. Big stuff. Second segment, it's going to be all about the Houston Dynamo taking on the New England Revolution. The Revolution are coming in off a win. Now, believe it or not, you could be a team in MLS with a 9-17-4 record and still only be 6 points out of a playoff spot. So they have everything to play for. And so do the Dynamo. The Dynamo have an opportunity to get into the final 4 teams. So we'll go a lot heavier on the Dynamo in the second segment here tonight. And we'll have some sound post-match in Seattle. The Dynamo outplayed in that one. We've a lot of high-profile people passing away. I mean, sad to hear of Pete Rose, Dikembe Mutombo. And then there was a man named Ron Griffith, Englishman up in Dallas, started the Texas Longhorns youth soccer team, which that was way ahead of its time, way back. He died at 83 years of age in Leeds, England, was a huge influence on soccer in the Dallas area and Texas. If you remember, Dallas Tornado was playing professional soccer then, and the game was just getting into the suburbs. Unlike anything that's occurring now, it was a lot of the former players and people like Ron Griffith who really were the Pied Pipers of the game, who really began to teach it, to educate people about it, spread the passion of it. Very important. And these were guys that played for the Dallas Tornadoes, a lot of names, and then they would influence some local Dallas players that would ultimately become professionals and play on pro teams. So it's a very important cycle that has to occur. So back to Pete Rose. It's kind of sad that he didn't get into the Hall of Fame. I get it. He was a gambler. I read a piece from Bill Brown on Facebook that, absolutely nailed it. So I've had the privilege to get to know Bill and have lunch with him and read his books and all the great things he does. Excellent commentator. Astros fans, you all know that. So one time I was sitting talking with him and I said, it was an amazing story. I was in school. I got called to the principal's office. I'm getting walked down there and I'm going, what did I do wrong? Am I in trouble? I walked in there and there was one of my neighbors, the Blattis family, and Mrs. Blattis was there. And so was her son, who was a friend of mine. And they said, well, we're taking you out of school. Your mother gave us permission, and you're going to the Mets-Cincinnati Reds playoff game. And that was the game that Pete Rose barreled into Bud Harrelson, the little shortstop for the Mets. We're going way back here. So I might be losing a lot of the younger listeners here. But it was a highly intense game. It was legendary because Rose barreled into Harrelson, and then people started throwing things on the field. It was a crazy day. So I told Bill this story with a lot of pride. I was there with the Mets, and I was a Mets fan. And he says, oh, yeah, I called that game. So he was actually the commentator for the Cincinnati Reds in that game where Pete Rose smacked into Bud Harrelson. And then, of course, we remember the All-Star game where he smashed into Ray Fosse. And Ray Fosse was never the same after that. That's when All-Star games, he may have went over the top on that, but that's when the American League wanted to beat the National League and vice versa. And if you were a little kid and you had a team like me, the Mets in the National League, well, you always wanted the National League to win the All-Star game. So there was a real rooting interest in it. Now it's more entertainment, obviously. WNBA TV ratings, boy, did we predict that on this show. We knew exactly what was going to happen. 1.8 million with Caitlin Clark playing, down to 425,000. That's a big gap. That's about 1.4 million that have dropped out of the WNBA now, and we all knew it was going to happen. Anyway, that in comparison, last year the MLS Cup was the final. Okay, so we're talking 1.8 million with Caitlin Clark playing basketball. They had 4,000 fans a game. They go to over 17,000. They're outdrawing the Indiana Pacers. The MLS Cup last year drew 815,000 viewers in 2023 on Fox Linear TV. Now, I will say the year before, they were over 1 million. And the year before that final was the Philadelphia Union and LAFC. Last year, it was Columbus and LAFC. We do have a lot to dive into tonight. Don't forget, we got an interview with Jorge Ramos, a legendary commentator. That's part 2. I taped that with him yesterday. We talk about the waning interest in Liga MX, potentially. TV ratings down, less people going to stadiums. Now, that's not going to happen with Chivas and Club America here because they're well over 50,000, and these are massive brands, and it's an opportunity for people in the Houston area and around the country to watch these two legendary brands that have won more titles than any. Cactus Music, Danish Inspirations, Modern Contemporary Furniture, Hugh O'Connor's Pub, Capelli Sport, Lamont Brands, Little Patagonia Empanadas and Cafe, and of course, the legendary Daspit Law Firm. A big thank you to them for presenting this show. We're going to come back. We're going to dig into Dynamo. We're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things in and around the Dynamo attack. It sputtered against Seattle. They're going to have to find it tomorrow night. And we'll join you back there. We got a little post-match from Ben Olsen as well. Right now, caller number 4 right now, 713-780-3776, 713-780-3776. Caller number 4 right now. Pair of tickets to the Houston Dynamo New England Revolution. And caller number 6 now, you get a pair of tickets to Club America Chivas El Clasico at Energy Stadium.
You're listening to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5. Boy, the phones lit up for the free tickets. Biggest moment of the weekend in world football. What is it for you? 713-780-3776. Dynamo fans, pros and cons. How you feeling about the Dynamo right now, fighting for home field advantage in the playoffs? What do you feel about the Houston Dynamo right now? 713-780-3776 is the number to call in. Quick word here, Little Patagonia Empanadas and Cafe. We got them right here in Houston. The best in empanadas. Let me tell you, you can knock 6 to 8 of these back in no time. Beautiful flaky dough, stuffed with beef, chicken, cheese, mushroom, you name it. They have them. They're also at Q2 Stadium in Austin, Texas, if you're going up there for Mauricio Pochettino's debut as a U.S. men's national team coach against Panama here in October. But Little Patagonia Empanadas and Cafe, get in there. They also have the choripan sandwich. I do want to give a shout out to Hugh O'Connor's Pub because there's always great soccer watching there, including the Champions League, Liverpool Supporters Group, I-10 Marquee Entertainment Center. It is Hugh O'Connor's Pub. And let me tell you, they've got great British food offerings. If you're into shepherd's pie, bangers and mash, they got it. Great beer selection and a very, very, very good whiskey selection as well. That's our good friends, Peter and Dave, out at Hugh O'Connor's Pub. And I do want to remind you at LamontBrands.com, LamontBrands.com. That's Lamont Brands. Jerry and Mel Lamont, they've got our Soccer Matters t-shirts and hats. You get them there. All the proceeds go to the 501c charity Snowdrop Foundation. We have orange, we have red, we have a lot of different colors. Get your Soccer Matters t-shirt, wear it proudly, and support the 501c charity Snowdrop Foundation. And by the way, you heard last week David DiVertalo, who used to play for the Houston Hotshots from Trinidad and Tobago. He's a Soca warrior. He reached out to me. HTX, the youth club, is going to be holding one of these kick cancer soccer clinics, and all the proceeds of that. It's only $50. So sign up for it. I'll get you the link. You can also go to not Twitter, X, and look up at Glenn Davis Sock. The link is there, and we can support them for being so gracious, reaching out. And if there's any other youth clubs or organizations in Houston that want to do one of these clinics, they're basically $50, and it's a 2-hour clinic. Get a T-shirt, and we help kick cancer. All right, let's get into the Houston Dynamo a little bit here against Seattle. Okay, no Hector Herrera, no Ezekiel Ponce. We'll see what the status is on those two for tomorrow. Doesn't look especially good for HH. One shot on goal came in the second minute. Griffin Dorsey from an angle. The Dynamo did struggle mightily in the final third. I know people don't want to talk about that, but it is true. 22nd minute, Paul Rothrock gets the goal. Now, this was an interesting goal because it came off basically what was a throw-in. And the goal off the throw-in led to what was a great reminder of running at people with the ball. And Albert Rushnek ran at people with the ball. This is soundbite number 8. This is the goal that would be the difference. Paul Rothrock of Seattle against the Dynamo.
They managed the way to get the tie. Here's Rusnak inside the box. Picks it up, Rothrock! Goal! For Seattle! Paul Rothrock taking out the trash and sends it in! Seattle leads Houston by 1.
So that was the game winner. And truth be told, that game was really controlled by Seattle. If you watch the full game, if you look at 1-0, but that game was controlled by Seattle. Now, that 1-0 scoreline is a big Dynamo scoreline because the Dynamo keep games close. The system that they have, the way they play is designed for 1-0 wins. That's how Seattle scores. So let's do soundbite number 1, getting into the playoffs. And I believe this is Seattle's head coach, right? Brian Schmetzer. Now listen to what he says, because they already know they're in the playoffs like the Dynamo before this game started.
Persevered, powered through, won a game, closed out a game, kept the lead under some duress, and we actually punched our own ticket into the playoffs. And I'm extremely proud of this franchise, the players in there. It's a pretty big moment. I think we've made the playoffs 15 out of 16 years. It's a good accomplishment. You know, a lot of people would have written us off earlier in the year. I know you guys didn't, but.
So that's Brian Schmetzer. And now, if we remember the beginning of the year, they absolutely had a nightmare. It was kind of like the Astros. This could easily been spun by Brian Schmetzer as an off year, a rebuild based on 3-year kind of cycles. The difference in Seattle to us is that they have a huge club fan base. They have a huge connection to their city over many years and all levels of the sport, all the way on down to the youth level, to the college game. There is a special pride there that has been nurtured. A lot of the oars are all moving in the same direction. And a lot of that can translate into wins, frankly. That feeling, that culture, that, hey, Seattle soccer, it stretches amongst a bunch of groups. We're all in it together. We support each other. And it's one thing to talk about culture. It's one thing to put culture out and say you have culture on social media. It's another to grow and have an overall culture. We have not been able to do that with the MLS product in Houston over all these years and with prior ownership. We haven't grown it. We haven't nurtured it. We haven't respected it. And it's partially why we don't have a full stadium. And it's a big reason why you hear the Dynamo players. Where are the fans? Ben Olsen, where are the fans? I don't think they understand the context of where they are here in Houston. And it's great that they made the playoffs again for a second year. Frankly, you got to make the playoffs. 18 out of 29 make it. It is a bit of a safety net, yet in context, the amount of years we didn't make it, it is an excellent thing that has been achieved. No question. But there is a safety net in this league, and that safety net of 19 teams out of 29 making the playoff prevents urgency. It prevents decision-making. You know, you can ride out a coach. You know, in the Premier League, maybe a coach has been gone already. And by the way, there are more coaches losing their jobs in MLS than ever before. And there's more consequence. So that forces you to make decisions to try and change things. And that's where you ask yourself, is it an investment or is it a football club? And I think you could go through all 29 teams in MLS and kind of give your opinion if you want it. All right, so the Dynamo struggled in this one, and I think in the final third, this was a big problem for the Dynamo. Two things I hope, and it doesn't really come up often about the Dynamo and goal scoring. Number one is I wish they had, and I said this on the last show, I wish they had a transition game and were more of a threat in transition to complement this very, very good possession game, which that possession game essentially is a big part of the way you defend, and that's why you haven't given up a lot of goals. So the transition game would be number one, and that would be, wow, when teams are committed forward, we break out, and, you know, we get some moments where we're really running at speed and at high energy, and the attack started deeper in our own half because another team was caught out of shape and committed forward, and we got it to Aliyu, and he got in behind the defense. We don't see that much. And I think part of that is because they want a very controlled, methodical style. I think there was a couple times in that Seattle game where the Dynamo had Seattle on the wrong side of the ball, and they totally looked off opportunities to go in transition, take some risk, put their foot on it, knocked it back, and it was all gone at that point. The other thing is the Dynamo don't have dribblers. They're one of the lowest teams in the league when it comes to somebody beating somebody off a dribble and taking a shot. I'm trying to look where I put the data, but everybody loves data. They're 22nd in the league in goal creating actions. 24th in the league, taking people on and then getting a shot off. Because if we look at their front players, there's not too many people taking people on off the dribble. Doesn't happen a lot. It almost seems like they overpass. They overpass it and seek out the best quality opportunity. So Ben Olsen was asked in the press conference about it. And, he was talking about different movement, different runs. But there's also not a lot of space for people if it is methodical. And to get that movement. Here's Ben Olsen on takeaways from the Seattle match, the Dynamo manager. Again, this is ahead of New England tomorrow night.
Tonight. It was, again, it was just, they're a good team. Seattle at home is a very, very tough place to come and get something. And we just, we just weren't the sharpest overall in the offensive side. Defensively, it was okay. I thought our press, we're missing a few guys. And I think when that happens, you're not as in sync with how you press. And I think at times that hurt us in that first half. We were a little, I thought we were a little light in some of the duels and maybe that extra effort, which was a little disappointing. But I don't know. They're a very athletic team, and it's a hard team to come against here. You got to be at your best, and we weren't at our best. But I'm not too concerned with this game, guys. I know you guys you guys are all such experts right now. I'm not too concerned with this one. I don't know if we're going to learn anything about our team here. I think it's just a matter of we came up against a good team in their house, and they were hard to break down, and they got their goal.
Could very well be a team you face in the playoffs, Seattle. By the way, they had a ton of homegrowns playing for them. A lot of guys that had connection to Seattle, whether they went to that area, whether they went to the University of Washington, whether they were a homegrown player, there was a boatload of them. And there's no reason why in the future this should not be the way it is here in Houston. Although, unfortunately, we don't have the college game to pluck anybody from because of, U of H doesn't have a men's program. I think Houston Christian does. But, that again goes back to Seattle culture. The fact that their roster is littered with people that are connected to it. I think he was talking about their press wasn't on, Ben. And, of course, that's because Ponce wasn't there. And I think that was a little bit of a, that Sebas doesn't bring the same thing that Ponce does when the ball's lost in the press. So here's and Sebas, I think Ponce holds the ball better up than Sebas. I think that's a better strength for him. All right, so here's Ben Olsen on the match and the final third, which we've been talking a little bit about tonight. I know they don't want to talk about it too much, but it is an obvious issue. The data's there to back it up.
Disappointed with not getting something out of the game first and foremost. An okay performance, not our best performance. Still, I thought we worked extremely hard and. It was a good first 20 minutes, and then they started to take the game over, and I thought they were sharper. And that's when they get their goal and maybe dodged one or two other looks. Second half was pretty even, and I thought we got a hold of the game again. Part of that was game state and them, of course, dropping off and protecting the lead. But and then in the final third, we were just a little toothless on the night, and that happens. They're a very good defensive team, and they're really well balanced. And you got to be dynamic. You got to be quick. You got to be sharp with your decisions in the final third to get past them. Again, one of the best defensive teams in the league dealing with that with their final third.
Got to be one of the toughest places in the league to play the artificial surface. That's not an excuse. So the Dynamo lost 1-0 to Toronto FC. This is their last 7 games. They beat LAFC 2-0. They came home to LAFC and tied 0-0. They won 4-1 against Real Salt Lake. That was the big goal output. They drew 1-1 with Vancouver. They won 1-0 against Austin FC, and they lost 1-0 to the Sounders. So in those 7 games, they scored 8 goals, but 4 of those came against Real Salt Lake. So I think goal scoring is a concern. I think it was a big question last year. On the other hand, you're in every game. Toronto FC, you got shut out. You got shut out by LAFC. You drew 1-1 with Vancouver. And then you beat Austin 1-0 on that fantastic Coco goal late. And then you lost to Seattle and Seattle. So it's a lot of one-goal games. 0-0, 1-1, 1-0, 1-0, 2-0, 1-0 loss TFC. And that's the way the Dynamo want it. That's the type of system they're in. They want to keep it under control. And they've done a good job of that. It's gotten them in the playoffs. But they're going to have to score goals if they're going to go deep in it. All right, a little superstition here. Stevie Wonder. I like this. Dynamo will come in tomorrow night at 13-9-9 against New England, 9-17-4. But again, I mentioned New England, who's got a negative 27 goal differential. They're 4-10 on the road. Believe it or not, with a 9-17-4 record, you are only 6 points out of a playoff spot. They have something to play for. And the Dynamo do as well. Get out there tomorrow night. Right now, okay, let's do it again. We're going with a double. You ready, Austin? Here we go. 713-780-3776. Lone Star Sports and Entertainment. El Clasico, Chivas Club America. Caller number 2 right now at 713-780-3776. Caller number 4 gets a pair of tickets to the Dynamo New England Revolution.
You are listening to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
All right, welcome back to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5. Hey, reminder, Cactus Music, that's where you get all your vinyl and CDs. Get over there, talk to Quinn. All of the people who work in the store have tremendous music knowledge.